I switched this morning the order of our readings. If you noticed, our liturgist, Kathy Reddick, read the New Testament. And I'm about to read the Old Testament this morning for you from the book of Daniel. At first glance, the Old Testament story of Daniel might seem a little odd for a Thanksgiving reflection. But it's my hope to draw closer to the fact that God has asked us to return thanks for His blessings throughout time. That no matter what our current circumstances are, there are truly things to be grateful for. This morning we turn to Daniel for our model. Chapter 1 tells us how Daniel became able to serve in the court of King Nebuchadnezzar in Babylon as an advisor in the first place. That's odd. Chapter 2 concerns King Nebuchadnezzar and his disturbing night dreams, who calls all his sorcerers and his magicians and all of his wisest court and tells them, I had a dream that troubles me and I need to know what it means. Well, unfortunately, all of the guy's worldly advisors, the sorcerers, the magicians, the wise people, didn't know the answer. And so the king's thoughts were to his men, go chop them up in little pieces. Enter Daniel, who hears this and wants to intervene and intercede for all of those, some of them who were his friends. And he sincerely prays to God for wisdom to help in the situation. It's Daniel's response to God that is part of our subject for meditation this morning. So I'm reading from chapter 2, verses 19 to 23. Let's hear the words of the Old Testament. Then the mystery was revealed to Daniel in a vision of the night. Daniel blessed the God of heaven. Daniel said, Blessed be the name of God from age to age, for wisdom and power are His. He changes times and seasons, deposes kings and sets up kings. He gives wisdom to the wise and knowledge to those who already have understanding. He reveals deep and hidden things, for He knows what is in the darkness, and light dwells with Him. To you, O God of my ancestors, I give thanks and praise, for you have given me wisdom and power, and have now revealed to me what we have asked of you. For you have revealed to us what the king has ordered. Here is the words of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Too much to carry this morning. Dear friends and family, as you might have learned in Sunday school, way back when for some of us, you know about Daniel in the lion's den. That's another part of Daniel's story, but that comes up later in chapter 6. It's good reading. You should give it a read. This morning, it's Daniel's prayer previously read that needs our attention. He praised God for everything on earth and everything in heaven and everything that was to come from generation to generation, as you just heard. And yes, the New Testament continues that thanksgiving premise to God in many ways and through many events that we know. Paul in prison reminds us, in everything, give thanks. Really, Paul? That sounds good. But you know how really hard that is to do when you're in the middle of something you'd rather not be in the middle of? Helen Keller was born in 1882. At 19 months of age, she developed a raging fever, which left her without sight and without hearing. She lived in a world of darkness and silence. You know the rest of the story. God sent Annie Sullivan to be his hands and his feet in Helen's life. Helen died in 1968 at the age of 94 years old. And it's what she said in her adult life that I share with you this morning. As an adult, looking back after she had some speech, Helen said this: I thank God for 3 things every day. 1, thanks for giving me knowledge of his work. 2, deep thanks that he has set in my darkness the light of faith. And 3, with deepest thanks that I have another world to look forward to, a joyous life with light and flowers and heavenly song. Helen might not have been thankful for the circumstances that God allowed in her life, but she certainly was thankful in those circumstances. Again, Daniel was, and Paul reminds us, to give thanks to God in everything. For this is what God's will is for you. And now we look to this Thanksgiving time. It's Thanksgiving Day, and turkey aroma fills Charlie Brown's house. Snoopy is outside on top of the doghouse, lying down. Can you picture it? All of a sudden, he smells the aroma of turkey. And he thinks to himself, everybody eats turkey on Thanksgiving. So he lies and he eagerly awaits the back door to open. It finally opens, and here comes Charlie Brown with a bowl of dog food. Snoopy gets down, and he walks over to the bowl, and he looks down. With a really forlorn face. Charlie Brown thinks, just because I'm a dog, I have to eat dog food. So he sits by the bowl and he ponders. And he thinks to himself, it could be worse. I could be the turkey. Folks, like Snoopy, I suggest we spend some time trying to be thankful for all things God allows in our lives. And yes, to be more content with what we have. Perhaps the clothes we have that fit a little too tight because we have enough to eat. Perhaps the parking spot that's way back at the end of Walmart because some of us are healthy enough to walk that far. How about your heating bill because you're warm? How about all the complaints we hear about politicians and our government because our country was still founded on free speech? How about your aching muscles at the end of the day because we were all tired enough to have been productive? This Thursday we'll gather for a meal, I think. Maybe some football, and maybe even a dash to Black Friday Walmart that starts 12 hours early. Thanksgiving, I think, is a perfect time for you and I, like Daniel, like Paul, like Helen, like Snoopy, to be better at being grateful, to be better at being grateful people. God wants nothing more for us to become grateful people, thanks to God. When your eyes open in the morning, it might be easier to thank God for life and breath and the health that you have. But I'm thinking as the day wears on and the world comes crashing in, we might forget a little bit about what our call to do and be as loving people of God. So when you smell that aroma, whether it be turkey or ham or beef, pause for a minute. And don't make it a one-time thanks be to God. Make it an all-time thanks be to God for life, for breath, for my condition, and for the fact that I am able to be better than I am because of the love God has for each one of you. And the people this day say, Amen.